You know, one of the most exciting areas facing organizations right now is this whole question about how do you collaborate across companies, across countries, across functions, across specializations. I wrote a book some years ago called Hotspots, which was really about how do you make that work. But since that book was printed, you know, other things have happened. And my current research is about the future of work. And what I'd like to argue is that actually there are 5 forces that are really changing the way that we work, and more specifically, 5 forces that are increasing how much collaboration is needed in organizations, and indeed really showing some of the types of cooperation that are going to be needed. So, let me tell you a little bit about those 5 forces. You know, the most obvious one is technology. You know, 5 billion people connected by 2020, the cloud circling the world, many people having mobile devices that immediately puts them into the cloud, which holds, by the way, by 2020, most of the knowledge of the world. So, you know, technology is certainly a key driver. But it's not just technology. There's also a big issue around demography. You know, by 2020, 5 billion people in Asia, 1 billion in Europe. That's a lot of consumers. It's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of talent. And what that means is that increasingly our work will globalize. Increasingly, the talent we want, the consumers we want, will be based all around the world. So collaboration across the world becomes more important, and of course much of that will be virtual. Our children already talk to each other using avatars, but increasingly we'll be doing that at work as well. But you know, it's not just about technology and globalization and demography. Globalization is really now a major driver around the world, and we can expect this level of connectivity to increase. What else is going to affect the way that we work in the future? Well, you know, when we think about carbon resources, particularly, what's really clear is that over the next 20 years, we'll begin to run out of oil. That means that the price will come up, will rise. Governments are very likely to be taxing carbon, which means that the daily commute to work becomes a luxury that many organizations can't afford. Getting onto planes will be more expensive. And again, there's a big push here for virtual working, for collaborative virtual working. And then add to that the final piece, which is about societal trends. And the piece I think is particularly interesting is that individuals don't necessarily trust companies, they don't necessarily want to work for companies, they want to build their own companies, they want to build their own skills and sell either as individuals or indeed as clusters. And at the same time, as family size decreases, so people are going to be more isolated. So, what do those 5 trends mean for the way we work, and particularly, what do they mean for collaboration? Well, what I'm going to suggest is that collaboration then becomes really one of the key competencies in organizations. You know, collaboration will become more complex, because you're going to be working with people across the world, more virtual, obviously, as technology it becomes ever more sophisticated. And what that means is that what used to be rather straightforward, just working with the person sitting next to you, now becomes much more of a challenge. And what our research has shown is, in fact, if you look, as we've done, at many hundreds of teams and communities around the world and measured their productivity and indeed their complexity. By complexity, I mean, you know, how large is the team, how geographically diverse is it, how diverse is it with regard to specialization, age, and gender. What you find is this, that as the team complexity increases, so productivity goes down. Now, that's not good news. But what we also know is that those teams that actually manage to work with each other, really manage to show the skills, really manage to have the key competencies in place, not only are they productive, but they're also innovative. So what we now know then is that innovation comes out of these complex teams, but they have to learn how to collaborate. And what does that mean in terms of real hard skills and competencies? Well, in my book, Hotspots, I said 3 things. Collaboration means, first of all, a culture of cooperation. It means, secondly, building diverse networks that include people who are very different from yourself. And thirdly, it means finding an igniting vision, an igniting question, an igniting task that pulls communities together. So let me summarize where we are with collaboration moving forward. 5 forces are making a real difference to the way we're going to collaborate. Geography creates the spread, technology creates the connectivity, societal changes brings a sort of measure potentially of isolation, and demography also brings in many different age groups into the workforce. So we need to learn to be collaborative, and it's a skill, it's a competence, it's a set of habits. And what we've discovered is that whilst many complex teams fail really to be highly productive, those that do, those that use the skills of building cooperation, of building high-value networks, of finding points of ignition, are able both to be productive and indeed to be innovative. It seems to me that our world is increasingly going to be one of collaboration. And I invite every one of you to create the skills, the competencies, and the mindset that allows you to do so.